Okay, make sure everybody has their mics on, please.
My mic is on.
Yes, sir, boss.
We're going to call the meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will do a roll call. Tony Mancini.
Here.
Bridget Hosky.
Here.
Berta Garlock.
Here.
Councilman Quagliani.
Here.
Gail Tagliatella.
Here.
Lonnie Perry.
Here.
And Steve Idarola.
Here.
Chairman Art Kelly is here. Missing is Commission Member Art Gilbert. Okay, so obviously we cannot do any approval of the meeting minutes. As I sent out in the email, last week's meeting somehow was not recorded. Therefore, we don't know who made what motions, and we could not develop the meeting minutes from it. Okay, good. So we couldn't develop the meeting minutes from it. Also, the agenda was not posted for this meeting, so we're not able to vote on anything. But we still have a lot to go over, so we'll have what Attorney Mednick calls as a workshop tonight. So the approval of the meeting minutes, what I need is somebody to recollect who made what motion and seconded the motions. If we can. If we can't, then we'll have to redo them Tuesday. But I was hoping somebody might recollect who did what. And
Let's go. You ready?
and that way we can, if we can do it tonight, then that way Stacy can develop the meeting minutes, and then we can file everything for Tuesday's meeting tomorrow or Monday. So does Member Hosky have those notes?
I do, because
Wow, good.
checked it. We started with 11. Language for the council approval of contracts.
Okay, so
I think we were told that it was done.
do you remember who made the motion and seconded?
I made the motion. Yeah, I think it was
Roberta.
I think it was,
Second,
yeah,
Roberta. Okay. First one.
And if I may, I believe we also did number 10. I remember that we approved the City of West Haven, Allentown Fire Department.
Oh,
Yes, he's showing that as a plus, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I made that motion.
Okay,
Sorry, I
Bruce?
had this page as the start.
that's all right. And seconded by whoever wants to take credit.
Coming up.
I'll second.
You weren't here.
I wasn't
Yeah.
I think it was. I think.
I think Roberta's, it was me and Roberta
seconded the
most
same.
of the
Yeah.
motions, I think.
All right, Gail, you're
I'm it.
it.
There was also the line of succession issue where we created the vice chair and had a seamless succession from the.
What number was that?
Well, it's a special election number 8.
Yes.
Is what I'd say. So we had that approved as well.
Bridget, you did that too. I think Bridget pretty much did all of them.
Okay. Second,
There was a motion for the public health to adhere to the state statutes.
Yep, that was the next one, number 13.
so the second on the special election provisions for mayoral vacancy, I'm gonna say it was seconded by Tony, you were here?
Yes.
Okay,
Right, and you had the notes, or do we have to say what the notes were? Because it was the
The language.
pro
you mean?
ten. I think you called it.
Pro tem clerk, The chair pro tem,
Yes.
pro tempore. Well,
I
yeah,
voted down.
you're great. My notes are decent, but I don't have any. I didn't put the motions down. I just put the subjects.
Okay, so 1 through 7 were already done before that last meeting. So we got 8, we got 10,
11.
11, and so the next one is it's 16 administrative remedies for failure to comply with charter.
Wait, did we skip 13? I
Right.
have. I have.
The public health for regionalization, or is which 13 you going off?
I'm going by modernized, revised public health for.
Yeah, that's
regional-
number 13.
13.
That was approved.
Yeah,
So-
that was a motion carried, but I
That
don't
was
have the-
approved, but Steve, I'm told that that can be done by ordinance.
It could be done by ordinance. I'll talk to, but it was approved. I'm planning on putting some language in the charter that permits the city to engage in interlocal arrangements, interlocal agreements,
Right.
regardless of what the charter has, and it won't be centric to the health department.
Okay.
So we still may want to clean up the health department language, but there's going to be general language that allows you to do it so long as you don't eliminate a function of government. So if the region is doing something on health, you can do it, and the Corp Council would have to opine that the city is getting its health services from the regional vehicle. So, but they did approve it, and we'll come up with final language, which you will approve at some point
Okay.
before we complete this.
So, Bridget, did you propose that motion?
Yes.
Do you remember? Yes. Where are we? 16. Which? Oh,
That was 13.
13 BH, and seconded by Gail. Let the record reflect that Art Gilbert, commission member, is here and participating. Okay. Next one I'm seeing with a plus next to it is administrative remedies for failure to comply with charter. Do you remember who made those motions?
I don't think we acted on that. I think that I said that I was going to look at that and start drafting on that. So the checks are,
Do you have, Art, do you have this one? Steve handed out?
yeah,
Oh, I'm using the
the Corp Council put that we approved. We hadn't done that. It was basically, I had a check system, and that was one where I said that I was going to give you some thoughts on how to deal with that at this
Oh,
meeting.
okay,
Right.
all right.
So the concept was, everybody was favorable to the concept, but I don't think we took a vote on it, to my recollection. I don't have it as one of the.
So I'm gonna cross out approved. All right, so I'll cross out approved and we'll just keep it open.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Chairman, number 12 for last week, but number 13. Nope, number
14.
yeah. 12. Number 12. I have that we were going to review the recommendation from
Fontana.
From
Yes.
Fontana. Thank you.
So
But
do
it
I.
says, it says that it was approved, but it wasn't. It's pending what his recommendation is.
Right.
That is correct.
How he wanted to reference it
correct.
in the charter.
And number
14.
14, we voted on and approved, but we're going to get a recommendation for naming from the mayor or the department head as well. That we were going to remove mandated departments and positions no longer required. We approved that, but that the naming of it was going to be recommended to us.
And the other thing I think you did approve was,
16. Oh, we talked about that already?
yeah, I didn't have that as approved, but I thought we had addressed the issue. I had it down here as, this is the issue of the voting machines, which
Yep.
I'm trying to see where it is on the list.
It was a closed item because we had approved it.
We've said we
Yeah.
were gonna follow.
Oh, there it is, number 7.
States.
It had already been approved. But I fixed the language.
Yeah.
It hadn't been done, but I fixed the language, which I'll go through briefly.
I think for number 16, we approved to do it, not approved a resolution. Like, we approved to go in and have
Go ahead and
remedies
look at it.
added,
Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
right, but we.
Which I was going to
had-
show you tonight.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we didn't approve to make it part of our recommendation yet. Correct.
we approved for him to make a recommendation as to what it should be.
Oh,
The
okay.
concept was, there was a consensus on the concept. I was going to come back with language.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we cleared up the acting council as well.
Council
We
chair,
would-
yeah, that's the succession issue.
Right, we approved that there would actually be a vice chair of the city
Right.
council now.
Or chair
So
pro tem,
did
whatever
you make the motion, Bridget? Yes.
It was dealt with under number 8, really, under the
Right.
succession. The motion was under the succession, even though it was 2 separate categories. It was dealt with under succession.
Okay. Roberta, you mind? I'll have you be the second on that. Sounds good. Okay.
On the adult daycare, I think you did agree to eliminate adult daycare. Was the one,
Yes.
Number 15, we were going to revisit, remember?
and the rest of them we were kind of tabled to. I have a meeting. Kevin and I are going to meet Monday, and try to meet with some of the department heads to get clarifications. Some of their proposals were not as clear to me as they need to be, and I didn't know how to draft, frankly, without getting some more clarity. So we're going to try to work on Monday and give you a report on Tuesday at the meeting.
Okay. What's, yeah,
Number 15, we were going to revisit.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm just going over, trying to get people who made the motions for the minutes right now.
And again, it wasn't a motion on 15. It was just the concept.
19, define Board of Education as City Department approved.
I don't think there was a motion on that.
Yeah, there was, I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started with a check system. We moved it to an approved system. It was checked that I would do that, but it wasn't approved per se.
All right, so I'll cross out approved and I'll
Yeah.
put still open, or open. Okay, so let me just go through this. So,
Okay.
go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, 3 and 4, I think 4 is a typo. It should be recommended that the treasurer change from elected to, because 3 and 4 are the same.
Same, okay.
Oh, yes, you're right. Sorry. Good catch. Sorry. Yeah, I did a copy and I didn't change the title. Thank you.
Okay.
And then in item 6, it's not city clerk form, it's city clerk from 2 to 4 years.
All right. So let's go over, make sure I got everything. On number 8, revising special election provisions for mayoral vacancy succession. Member Hosky made the motion, was seconded by Tony Mancini. Number 10, change the name of Allentown Fire District to City of West Haven. Allentown Fire Department, motion was made by Member Hosky, seconded by Gail Tagliatella.
I would check on that name. Just a correction. It may be City of West Haven Fire Department, Allentown. Allentown may come at the end of that.
I was doing City of West Haven, Allington Fire Department, is what I thought you wanted to do. We could do it any way you want.
I think what
Yeah,
City of
I believe they actually use that now, but I
Tell
would
me, what
double
is it?
check that. City of West Haven Fire Department, Allentown.
Okay.
Okay, we'll make that
I'll fix that.
revision. Number 11, language for council approval of contracts. Motion was made by Member Hosky and seconded by Roberta Garlock.
Can we go back one?
Sure.
In number 10, I thought that the commission moved that the commissioners their duties would follow state statute. Was that part of that motion or a separate motion? I do remember it from
yes,
last
you're
week.
right, yep.
Yeah, it had been discussed, but I did not, I left a question mark there because there's nothing in the charter right now, and apparently there was a resolution adopted by the city council. I'm going to get my hands on the resolution to see what does the commission look like. I don't even know what it looks like at this point. And so
Right now, there's only 3 members.
yeah, so so we have to look at that and decide. You'll have to decide who's going to appoint, how are they appointed, that kind of stuff. And that's why, yes, you approved that, but I didn't know how to write it up because we don't have it in the charter. It's not in the ordinances. So I'm going to try to get my hands on the resolution so we don't change.
There's 3 members and now I believe 2 alternates. But there's
Right,
supposed to be 5 members, I think.
5 with 2 alternates.
Yeah.
We got well, I'll get my hands on. It won't be a difficult thing to craft. I just have to see what the system is.
And Chairman Brown told me that one of his members of the commission doesn't feel that the alternates should participate unless 2 out of the 3 members are missing. And that's why he's asking for clarification or to make sure that he can point to the state statute and say, no, this is how we have to do it by state statute.
Yeah, anytime you are down a member, you can call on an alternate to
Right.
serve. And one of the things that people get confused about, because of minority party representation applies to the membership of the entire body. On a given evening, you may not comply with it, you're not out of compliance, but it may not look like you're complying with minority party representation. And that could be true if you bring an alternate in to replace somebody of an opposite party. But anytime you're down a membership, the chair has the discretion to call in an alternate to
Yes.
serve to get.
And they have the same authority and roles as the regular permanent.
Correct. And a lot of boards have their alternates come to all the meetings to keep up to date with things. Not mandatory, but just keep up to date so that if they have to fill in, they're not operating from a place of ignorance. They're operating with some degree of knowledge. They don't have a vote. They shouldn't really participate, but they can sit with the body and listen to all
Right.
the testimony that comes before a body.
They only participate if they're filling in for someone.
They can only participate and vote if they're filling in for somebody. They're designated by the chair to do so.
If I may speak, Chair, I think I think the problem or the issue that we're trying to solve is that a seat is not filled at the pleasure of the chairman or chairwoman or chair. That it is the state statute or the city's ordinance that says if somebody is out, then the seat has to be filled. And I think that's kind of the distinction we're looking for, is that it's not at the oh, I'll do it, or tell me again. Discretion, yes, and thank you. It's not at my discretion whether or not I'll fill that seat. The city's charter or the state statute
Requires that seat to be filled by
requires
the
it to
alternate.
be filled.
Yeah.
Now, if there's
But it's at the
seat-
discretion of the chair to decide which of the alternates is going to serve.
yes, which
Yeah.
are the alternates?
But
right,
you don't
it
have
has to be
discretion.
filled.
You have to fill it.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, was that discussion part of the motion?
Yes. It was part so that we were going to, exactly how Councilman Quagliani stated, is that we were going to have them follow state statute.
Okay, okay. Go ahead.
There is no state statute. That's what I was confused about.
All right.
And so, but to follow the law, and the law could be parliamentary law, whatever it may be, in terms of what that discretion is. And that will apply to all boards and commissions.
Yes.
I might put in, we'll go over tonight, I'll show you the preliminary sections and boards and commissions. I've never done this, but I might add that alternates, define how the role of alternates works. Because that would apply to every board and commission.
Yes,
It wouldn't
right.
just be to what I'm trying to do, you'll see, is to eliminate redundant provisions and have one provision that governs all boards and commissions. So we don't
Correct.
have to repeat it 8 or 10 times in the
All right.
charter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So number 13, revised public health for regionalization. Motion by Member Hosky, seconded by Gail Tagliatella. The administrative remedies failure to comply with charter is still open. correct?
Council was instructed to look at language and propose language, basically. But there was no language to approve.
Okay. And we have seventeen's the same as 8. Okay, that was Bridget Hosky and Roberta Garlock as a second. And Board of Education is still open, not approved. So those are the motions and who made them and seconded them of what was discussed and approved passed last week by the commission. Thank you. Okay. So, let's see. I'd like to let's see. Next meeting. Since discussion action on necessary and suggestion recommendation city council, we can't take any action. Same with the public regarding the charter revision. I would like to talk about where we are, where we think we need to be, and whether or not we can get to where we need to be in the next month. I was talking to Attorney Mednick before the meeting, and one of my concerns would be we have to make sure that for the public hearing input, which I want to set a date for tonight, a firm date, we need to make sure that all this information gets out there to the public on the city website so we can educate the public so they understand what's going on, and so they don't have to worry about when they go into the voting booth that they're looking at all these things, because that's not how it's going to be. So I guess one of the things I'm wondering is, Attorney Mednick, is we have, I'll call the major items being the mayor's term, the tax collector term, and the treasurer and, the tax collector and treasurer being appointed, and the city clerk going from 2 to 4 years. So those are the major structural issues that we are recommending to the city council in our report to them. Okay. Basically, all the other stuff is language that you guys are working on. And I would, again, ask you again, where do you think you'll be in a couple of weeks for all these revisions? And
Yeah.
now obviously you've provided, or you and Kevin have provided, a draft of language that you've put in so far. At what point are we going to be able to get this out to the public, if you can tell me?
Well, I think what we're going to try to do is, we talked a little bit about it last week. We had a tentative date for the public hearing to be the 26th of May, and the objective would be to have this approved by the 21st. If you wanted to do the public hearing a little earlier, like on the 21st, then we would have to get it done by the 16th, and which only leaves us 1, 2, 3, the fourth meeting.
Right.
I think that if you take a look at what I've handed out tonight, and I'll be happy to walk through it with you, we can't act on it. And if we act on most of the things on Tuesday, and then on Monday, Kevin and I go through some of the other issues, I think we should be able to get it done. It looks ambitious, but I think we should be able to get it done unless there's some real technical problems with anything that I've drafted thus far. So if we do that, as long as the public, the way it looks right now, is if we were to approve it under the tentative schedule of the 21st being our last meeting before the public hearing, the document would be available presumably the next day, by Friday the 22nd, so people will have it over the weekend with the public hearing on a Tuesday.
Holiday weekend, though.
It is a holiday weekend?
Yeah,
That
Memorial
Memorial
Day.
Yeah, so
So,
you have to decide, and I don't know if you can meet any earlier that week.
One question, can we go over the dates again? Because
Sure.
just what the meeting dates we have?
The dates I thought we had, do you want me to go through it, Mr. Chair, or do you have those dates?
Well, let me tell you what I have, what I sent out today, is after tonight, we have Tuesday, May 5th, 6 o'clock in the third floor conference room. We have Thursday, May 7th, 6 o'clock in the council chambers. Thursday, May 7th,
That's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Everything's 6 o'clock from here on in.
okay. So the 5th and the 7th.
I think the 7th was staying at 7. And what we might do, Mr. Chair, I think we talked about having a special meeting called at 6, so that we still had our regular meeting, but we would have the clerk issue a special meeting for 6 o'clock on Thursday the 7th, so we could start the hour earlier.
Okay.
Because we've already noticed the meeting for the 7th, I believe.
Do you,
Am I right on that?
Yes.
The 5th is on.
Conference room and city council.
Yep.
so we have to call a special meeting for 6 p.m. that night?
Yeah, you have to do a special meeting for the 5th as well, because that's not one of our regular meetings, I don't think. Unless
Well, we made it our regular meeting.
Oh, it was our regular meeting? Okay.
Yeah,
that's
these
fine.
are the meetings that we set forth for
All
the
right.
future.
All right.
And if May 5th was added in as an extra at 2 weeks ago, based on what everybody's schedule was and everything.
All right.
With the time change? Because I think it's the time change.
Yeah. If I may, I thought that the issue last week was that all of the meetings that were set were already registered as starting at 7, so that we had to call a special meeting
Correct.
for 6 o'clock in order to not have to go back in.
Well,
Change.
okay, so when you say set, we set them, did we file it with anybody or?
I believe Stacy may have.
We should check and see what Stacy has filed. And if she's filed a series
Okay.
of 7 o'clock meetings, for each of those meetings, we should do a special meeting at 6.
Okay,
Right.
we'll find out.
Yeah.
All right. Special meeting. 4, 6. Now, that's if she filed them with the city clerk.
That is correct.
If she just filed them with Andrew, who was coordinating the rooms,
No, that's
then
not
it's different.
filing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll talk to Kevin, make sure we check that out.
Okay.
So that's it for now, just those 2 dates?
No.
No.
Okay.
Thursday, May 14th, in the council chambers at 6 o'clock. Again, we'll check on whether something was filed at 7. Thursday, May 21st, 6 o'clock, at third floor conference room. And we were looking at May 26th for the public input.
Okay,
So that would be a Tuesday.
so that's not on your,
That's not on here.
okay, so that's an addition.
When would that be?
That would be Tuesday, May 26th. We'd have to find out where we can plant ourselves.
And would that be at 7, because it's a public, or 6, still 6?
I had it down for 6.
I don't even have it down at all.
What was the meeting before that, Mr. Chair?
21st.
21st.
Okay. Got it. Thursday the 21st.
And then Tuesday, the 26th for the public input. And then Thursday, the 28th, 6 p.m. in Harriet North.
It's due the next day.
Yeah,
We talked about the Wednesday the 27th. I mean, I would hope that, yeah.
I believe in our discussion last week, Chairman, is that we were pushing for May 21st to have the public hearing to then come back and discuss it on the 26th to give what the public gave to us in consideration, and then to meet again if, to finalize it and not wait till the last minute in case we needed the attorneys to do work. It was my understanding that we were going to try to front load the month of May so that we weren't rushing at the last couple of weeks, and I feel like we may have reverted back to loading the end of the month instead of getting out ahead of it. And that's just my thought, is that I would hate to run out of time.
Yeah, and if I may, I just pulled up the email that I had sent out right after the meeting. And we had also, so we said April 30th, May 5th, May 7th, May 14th. We had also talked about May 16th, which is a Saturday, and starting at 9 a.m. And then that would position us for Thursday, May 21st for a public hearing, May 26th for the council meeting, May 28th for the commission for us, and then for May 29th for the report to be completed.
So, Steve, you think May 21st is pushing it too much for the public input? Have everything ready?
So we have a meeting on the 5th, a meeting on the 7th, a meeting on the 12th.
14th.
14th.
Oh, the 14th, rather.
14th.
Oh, we don't have the 12th.
No, nothing scheduled.
Oh, why do I have the 12th?
Maybe we should.
Yeah,
So
I
bad.
had the 12th in there as a meeting. That would be 3 meetings.
If we got into a jam and just decided to recommend the major structural things that we did, and then the council can continue charter revision for 2 years from now, correct?
No. One of the things when we set this project up, I had made it very clear that this is a very tight time frame to get things done. In spite of it, I think we're getting a lot of things done, and I'm pretty confident that we can. I think we can send, the way this process works is once we send it over on the 29th to the council then has a period of time to look at it. And if there are some concepts that are incomplete, not fully fleshed out, they can make recommendations back to us so we can continue to work the process through when it's at the council. They then come back with a series of recommendations where we finally perfect it in our next phase when you get it back from the council so that we can get as much done as possible. I think if we, whether I go through everything tonight or you guys read it all, I think we can approve a lot of stuff on Tuesday, and you'll find that we're going to be pretty deep into this thing. But I think on Tuesday, we need to roll up our sleeves and just go through it methodically to make sure we approve most of the stuff that I've done. I think about 3/4 to 80% of what we need to do is in here
It's in there?
right now.
Right.
You just have to read it and give me the okay on it. And the other thing I'll need okay on so that it gets cleaned up, and it's not a big deal, because frankly, if that doesn't get done fully before the council, I could do it at the council. Once we agree on all the defined terms, I need to go through the whole document and make sure I do a sweep and put all the defined terms into the document. If that's not finalized, when we send it over to the council, we could fix it at the council with a series of recommendations. So I think that if we, at the next 2 meetings, really roll up our sleeves and go through the document with some diligence, I think it's surprisingly doable. When I spoke to the mayor today about it, she was surprised, I think, I don't want to speak for her, that we've taken it this far, this quickly.
So, well, then I would say that, at least for tonight, we'll certainly have you go through it so we can start understanding it.
Yep.
And then Tuesday we can, prove it. And as far as, what's that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. As far as another meeting, do we want to try and set something for May 12th?
If we could put it in the calendar, and if we have to cancel it, we just cancel it. That would be helpful to me to know I have an extra meeting. Give me a little security and like a binky.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
What's
security
everybody's
blanket.
schedule for Tuesday, May 12th?
I know I'm unable to make it.
Okay.
I could do it.
You can do it, Steve? No? Art?
Question mark. I don't want to jam everything into 1 week. It's going to really tax everybody.
Well, it's the 12th.
Push
and
forward, right?
It's the 12th and the 14th that week. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we only do the 12th if we think we need it, frankly. But the 14th, we have to vote it out.
Right.
That's what everybody needs to understand. If we're going to have the public hearing, we're now looking at the public hearing on the 21st.
Yes.
Yeah. If that's the case, we have to vote it on the 14th. That's 7 days in advance, which is a fair amount of notice for the public. But we have to be ready to vote it out that day.
I just think the public hearing before the holiday weekend, as opposed to the day after Memorial Day, you might get, more people to review the documentation. I'm just saying, I don't know.
And, I mean, should we do the 12th instead of the 14th, just so there's even more time for the attorney to work on it, to get it ready for the 21st?
I would keep the 12th and the 14th and drop the 12th if we don't need it. I'd like to have all those dates scheduled so that if we need them, we have them.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm just saying.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is I'll check with Andrew and see if there's a location we can use for Tuesday, May 12th. And we'll have to see how the next two meetings go.
Right.
But, we know what our goal is. I think, again, I don't want to speak for you, Steve, but, I think it's doable for us to have the public input on May 21st. And
My
with
job
the
is to
meeting-
I'll get it done for you.
Yes, yeah.
We'll get it done. Always prefer to have a little more time, but as I told you, I think my remedy of anything that is up in the air is to fix it when it goes over to the
Okay.
council.
All right. So I'll check on May 12th, and I'll send out notes, and if everything's all right, we'll set May 12th as a meeting, Tuesday, May 12th at 6 o'clock. And I just want to make sure we're going to have a quorum, though. Tony, are you available? Bridget? Roberta? Art?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, 1, 2,
So when you
5.
send it out, you'll send out a whole new
Yes,
month's worth.
yes.
And we're not going to do Saturday the 16th at this point.
Not at this point, no.
That's good.
Art, question for
Yeah.
you. Are the dates you emailed today solid, though? All those Thursdays? And that Tuesday the 5th?
They are,
Okay, good.
yes.
All right. Thank you.
And I also put, based on what they gave me, the locations of them, so. All right, so we will add Tuesday, May 12th at 6 o'clock. We'll find a location for it.
And the
We'll
21st.
plan on doing the 21st being the public input.
Right.
Okay. And we have to vote this out by the 14th.
And so whatever we were talking about on 5/26 is not,
Yeah, I'm crossing out.
we're
Do you wanna
crossing that out.
When do you want to do your final meeting, on the 26th or the 27th? Because we have to have a meeting to report it out to the city council.
Well, we have a meeting scheduled for the 28th.
Oh.
It's every Thursday in May, it looks like, right?
Yes.
I had asked, the only problem with doing it on a Thursday is the report is due the following day at the city council. If we have any major changes to make overnight, that would be difficult. I mean,
So do
we
we,
had a tentative. Yeah.
do we want to try and we switch out May 28th and make it May 26th?
Because that was the night we had for the public hearing. I think it's on our
Yeah,
schedule anyhow. I would.
Well, it was discussed, but it was never put
All
on
right,
our schedule.
got it.
So
If we could do the 26th, that would be preferable to me.
we'll change the
Yeah.
28th to the 26th.
Yeah, because that gives me a chance, Mr. Chair, to the discussion we had at the outset of the meeting was to make sure we had a
Yes.
delineation of the issues for the public, and I want to
Right.
make sure that goes over on the day the council has it. And that's usually a 12 to 14 page letter. So
Okay. All right. We're crossing out the 28th, and we'll establish the 26th, Tuesday the 26th.
It's fair. We'll have a quorum, you think? I mean, it was
Um,
on there anyway, right? As a
Yeah,
public
well,
meeting.
it was discussed, wasn't on there, but
I had it.
hopefully we will.
Okay.
I think recently we did have it on there, and I thought originally we were trying to get it done for the middle of the month. So I just want to say again that I will be out of town, but if we could please do a Teams meeting, we didn't the last time I was absent. So if we could do that going forward for those who may not be in attendance but can dial in, I would greatly appreciate it.
For what time frame?
I will, unfortunately, May 21st, I will be in Pennsylvania for my goddaughter's wedding, and the week of Memorial Day, that week of Memorial, I'm always out of town. I thought, so if we
Of
could do it.
the week
for-
starting Monday Memorial Day, you're out
Yes,
of town?
May 26th, that Tuesday meeting, if we could also have a dial-in option, I would be grateful. I don't know if anyone else is going to be out of town and need that as well.
I'll be out of town, but I'll be in Italy, so.
Yeah, you won't be doing that, yeah. I'll be in
That's
Tennessee.
totally
In the middle of the night.
I'm calling from the pool.
Good for you.
I do have one more question when
Sure.
when we can change the topic or not a topic.
Well, I think before we get into Steve's part, going over the charter, the revisions, I had nothing else.
So you had mentioned that when we bring this before the city council and we vote on our recommendations, they can then go through it and decide that they want us to consider adding back dog catchers and make that recommendation for any additional changes to the charter that we didn't consider. So they don't just consider what we recommended, they can open the door to other stuff. as
they
well.
could. They could. Not likely that they will, but they could.
Oh no, I was just curious. Thank you.
They have full discretion to come back with a whole raft of new issues. I've very rarely have experienced that in any charter I've been involved in over the years, but they could.
And might I just ask another question? This is about 1,000 pages. How might we be sitting here reviewing it this evening? I just
Well,
am wondering what the is it a
I think, Steve, if you can just go over it, like with the list that we have, just, briefly mention what you did with the,
Yeah.
off of this list.
Yeah, what I'll do is go through sequentially in the document, and I will tell you the number that it corresponds to on the list.
Okay.
So it won't follow the list sequentially. We're going to go through the document sequentially. Otherwise, we're going to be jumping back and forth.
Right.
So if we can do that, may I start or?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you, sir. The first thing is, you all remember I handed out a definition section for you, which is Chapter 1, Section 8. I'm not going to go through every definition, but I ask you to do so. I want to talk about the key definitions. And the first key definition is the definition of contract, which is you have G, and that corresponds to number 11 on your list. That's the approval process. It's a very comprehensive definition of contract. We are trying to capture everything because historically entities, I won't name the entity, but certain entities try to sneak through documents like MOUs, MOAs, side letters, etc., and say, well, those aren't contracts. And this definition is a comprehensive definition that makes sure that anything that is a consensual agreement between any agency of the city with any third party is a contract. So that's the first one. The second definition you should look at, which corresponds to item number 22, I think it is, on the list. No, there is no 22.
No 22.
It's the Board of Education as a department. Number 19. It corresponds to number 19. It defines a department as any office, agency, or subdivision of the city government, including the West Haven Public Schools, under the auspices of the Board of Education. So it makes it very, very clear that the Board of Ed is a department. Department head is an employee, and we also have a definition of employee under M, which includes employees under the supervision, I'm going to change that, of the West Haven Public Schools, again, to make it clear from the point of view of, for example, the ethics ordinances, that employees who work in the Board of Education in the West Haven Public Schools are subject to the ethics rules and other rules of the city. The next significant definition, I've left all of the financial definitions undefined. I'm going to talk to the mayor and talk to finance people to decide whether we just want to stick with what we've got in the charter, in the budget section, or whether we want to put the definitions up front, so you'll see blanks in those sections. But the next definition that's of some significance is multi-year contracts, which is T. And again, that corresponds to item number 11, which is language for approval of contracts. So that's significant. Definition Y is public official or official.
Attorney Mednick, if I
Thank
may,
you.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. Because I remember we were going through this last week, and I'm just curious, because I don't remember, why is there a need for a distinction between a contract and a multi-year contract?
Because the only body that has the authority to approve a multi-year contract is the city council, unless they delegate that authority. And one of the big problems we've had in cities throughout the state, I don't know if it's a problem, although I get the impression it is boards of education sometimes think that they can do a lot of things that they cannot do, including multi-years. And the reason we have multi-year contracts defined is, for example, what is a multi-year contract? The easiest one is it's a 3-year contract. That's multiple years. But an option agreement is also a multi-year contract. An extension agreement in a contract is a multi-year agreement. And the only entity that has the ability to, the mayor doesn't even have this authority unless she's granted the authority, is the legislative body, according to Supreme Court law in the state of Connecticut. They can delegate that, but they, and my understanding is that there's a practice that the mayor gets to sign 3-year contracts. I haven't found it yet. Everybody tells me it exists. I'm going to talk to the Corporation Council and see where that is. But this is mainly here to say to any agency of the city, whether it's Public Works, WPCA, the Board of Education, whatever the kinds of agencies that might have some contractual relationships, that if there's any inkling that it's more than 1 year, it's got to go to the city council for approval. That's why there's the definition in the agreement. And if you just say multi-year contracts, then they'll say, well, an option's on a multi-year contract, so I define an option as a multi-year contract. You get the idea that while the Board of Education has very beneficial laws that allow it to control their own line items, they don't have the ability to take a line item and say, okay, we're going to go to contract on this line item, which is legitimate, and say we're going to do a contract for the next 3 years. They have no authority to spend money that they don't have. The council has the ability, because the council has the ability to bind the city for multiple years. The Board of Ed does not have that authority or that ability, and that's the reason I have over the years been defining these terms throughout the state of Connecticut to make sure we get control over those kinds of contracts.
Can we vote on any of these items as we're discussing them?
We cannot tonight vote on
Okay, we
anything
cannot vote on
because
anything.
we didn't have the agenda posted. So we will, what I will do, Mr. Chair, is what I will try to do for the Tuesday meeting, I'll work on it over the weekend, is to break down which items we're going to go through and set it up as action items. And that may jump through the document. So action item 1, if it's on contracts, something can be in chapter 1, chapter 4, chapter 7, but we'll act on everything that's in that category. And I'll try to give you a roadmap through it.
Okay.
All right. So that we can move on some of those issues as we do it. And I urge you, please read the document carefully, because it's your document, not mine. And always ask for authority to clean things up throughout the process. The last thing in the definition section, in FF, I've left the term vacancy blank. You'll see in a few moments that we deal with vacancies extensively. And the question is whether I need to come up with one standard definition. There is one definition that applies to mayors. It doesn't really apply anywhere else. Kevin and I are going to talk about that. My inclination is to recommend a definition that's in the definition section so we don't have to repeat it. But right now it's blank. I wanted to point your attention to item, there's no number on it, under use of terms. You'll see at the bottom, page C7, talks about a reference to majority, 2/3, or other voting standard of the entire membership of the board, of the council, board, or commission. It makes it clear that when you have a reference and there's nothing attached to it, that it means the entire body. So if you want to have a vote by a majority of those present and voting, you need to be specific about that. Because very often, you don't know how many disputes I've had to resolve in the last 45 years or so as a lawyer or as a politician myself, over the issue what a majority vote is. Well, Mr. Mednick, a majority vote is we're here and it's a majority of whoever's here. Well, if it's silent, you can make the argument one way or the other. I try to resolve it one way or the other. You could decide, so I'm not going to tell you have to do it. I set it up so that it's a majority of the entire body, which is a stricter standard. If you want the default to be a majority of those present and voting, you can do that, and then you could address the issue if you want to have a stricter standard on the specific item. But I wanted to let you know what I was doing here. But you have the freedom. There's no legal reason to do it the way I'm doing it. I tend to prefer a stricter standard, but if you want to have the more liberal standard as your default, that's up to you.
Before we move on, does anybody have any thoughts on that? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Then when you look at thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chapter 2, this is one of the stylistic changes between the current charter and the proposed charter. As you may recall, and you'll see it as we go through this, the terms of office are laid out in each chapter. The mayor's chapter has their term of office. It's town and city clerk, their term of office. The city council, their term of office. Board of Education, theirs. All the terms of office are laid out now in Section 2. Section 2B lays out who all the officers are. 2C are the terms of office. And you'll see this is dealing with items 1, 3, 4, and 6. You'll see in C1, 2, and 3, you'll see all the terms of office that have been approved by you. One of the outstanding issues is on page C9. It's in yellow. I think yours is black and white, so I don't know if it will show up in yellow. Under the City Council and Board of Assessment Appeals, currently the Board of Assessment Appeals has a 2-year term. One of the outstanding issues we haven't addressed that you'll need to address is whether you want to make the Board of Assessment Appeals an appointed body. And if not, do you want them to continue to have a 2-year term or 4-year term? That was not resolved. That's why I put that in yellow. I'm not saying you need to change anything, but it was on the list as an item to be discussed by the department heads. Asked the question whether we could have an appointed Board of Assessment Appeals. I moved the registrar of voters. If you take a look to subsection E. Again, for consistency, I just want to have every term of office in one place, so the consumer, the voter, can look at the document and see what the terms of office is, and not have to flip through every chapter to figure that out. That's a substance. That's a form over substance change, but I think it will make the charter a more readable document. On the next page, we deal with the vacancy in the office of mayor. And this is where we deal, I think this is item number 5. This is where we deal with the, number 8 actually, or number 5? Oh, there's 2 things here.
8, yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 and 8 because this is where we start using the word chair as opposed to chairman. That's one of the other things you approved at an earlier meeting. But number 8 is the succession. And so in section 6A1, throughout that section, you will see the references to the succession of mayor. Now, one of the questions that is outstanding that we have not talked about, but I wanted to raise it in fairness to you, is this charter that we currently have is based on a 2-year term for mayor. With the 4-year term for mayor, if the mayor were to leave office after year 1, do you want the chair of the council to be the mayor for the next 3 years? Or, and I make no judgments on that. I like clean succession personally. But some people might argue that, and I went through this in Middletown, where my friend Gina Serra succeeded as president of the council to become the new mayor. He had to run for election for the last 2 years. He was serving as acting mayor until there was a special election. So one of the things you might think about, and I'm not telling you have to do this, but I wanted to raise it in fairness. I wanted to give you all the options, that if it occurs within, at least 6 months before the general election, before the end of the second year, do you have a special election to fill the position for the last 2 years, or do you just have a plain succession provision? Right now, the way we have it written is a succession provision. So I just wanted to give you that option. I'm not advocating it. I just wanted to let you know that's an option that you could think about. We do have a situation that I put in. If you take a look at subsection 3, failure of the chair to assume office. Let's see, 60. If the chair of the council is unable or unwilling to assume the position of mayor, then the vice chair becomes mayor. That's what happens in the succession. If the chair says, I do not want to be mayor, steps aside, probably temporarily gives up the chair, the vice chair then succeeds. So you have this automatic succession. It would be the same thing in Congress or in the White House or in the state of Connecticut. The lieutenant governor were not to be there. The president of the Senate would be the governor. The same thing is true. The president of the Senate in Washington, or the speaker, would be the president if the vice president and the president were in an untimely demise, or the vice president says, I really did not want to be president, I like being vice president, then the speaker would ultimately be the president. So I thought that had to be addressed. If we're doing an automatic succession, that needed to be addressed. The next issue, let's go to the next page on mayor. If you take a look at section 1, nothing significant there, but all that deletion, the strike-throughs, is the term of office that is now earlier in the document. You'll see that in each section because we've moved everything into one section further up. And you'll also see all the vacancy language that was in chapter 3 on the mayor has been moved into the vacancy section. There's no, so the section on, that section of the mayor's definition is much shorter. No significant changes in the section on appointments and terms, but you'll see you'll see on page C14 that the mayor, this is again the council approval issue of contracts. The language in section 3B5 is language that requires the mayor to obtain prior authorization and approval of the council for any multi-year contract, including contracts approved by the Board of Education or payment in excess of the authorized duration as may be delegated by the city council by ordinance. And then this is language from the current charter. The mayor shall see that all contracts which the city or party are faithfully kept and performed. I wanted to make it clear, especially if you do have somewhere this 3-year ordinance, that by ordinance the council does have the ability to delegate the authority to the mayor to sign 3-year contracts. That's available. The Supreme Court permits the delegation of authority.
Do they have the authority to delegate it to the Board of Ed?
They could, but I don't. Whether they should is another question. I think that in my view, it should probably be exclusively between the mayor and the council, because the mayor has a budgetary role. The mayor proposes the budget. The mayor has to live or die with the mill rate. That is a proposed element of the budget, and so I've never seen it delegated to a Board of Education. It's usually, if it's going to be delegated, it'll be delegated to the mayor.
Okay.
I don't recommend that they do that, but if there's a tradition, that's what I was trying to accommodate.
Well, I'm just thinking of, I don't know what the bus contracts are, if they're multi-year, the food service, things like that,
And they should all come.
There's some vendors that aren't going to want to do a 1-year contract.
And the Board of Ed should do multi-year contracts.
Yeah.
So this is not a prohibition of multi-year contracts. It's simply a requirement that you need to bring those multi-year contracts to the city council.
Right.
And that just about all the communities I deal with do that. In Hamden, we've done bus contracts every 3 or 4 years. They do a bus contract because it's a multi-year contract. So the Board of Ed is conditioned to that. Some communities, boards of ed have run rampant, and I'm not saying that's West Haven, but there are boards of ed where it's run rampant, and you just want to make sure. And I just believe that once they understand that they just have to go to the council for the multi-year, you're going to end up with a better deal with a multi-year contract, because you're going to get better value from the vendors over the course of those contracts. But they have to bring the simplest way to do it is bring the RFP to the city council, get that approved, then you don't have to bring it back.
Right.
As long as there's a cap within it, as long as you're under that cap and everybody knows what generally you're going to be spending, there's no reason to come back for the contract to be approved. It's a one-shop deal. You get the RFP approved up front and you have authority to do it. That's the delegation. But it would be on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
On the next page, I'm going to try to move this as quickly as possible without being blithe about it, but let me just say that in Section 5C is another new section, and this one, again, goes to item 11, the contract authority, and this requires the mayor and the chair of the Board of Education to submit quarterly reports on all contracts. The reason that, again, contract broadly defined up front, the reason that I've been putting these provisions in charters is mayors have entered into MOUs under labor agreements, for example, and not brought them in, there's a financial implication, not brought them to councils because, well, I am the delegate by statute to address these issues, but not if it involves finances. And so this is a way for the council to determine, oh my goodness, they did this multi-year contract. Mayor, this is not a legal contract. You need to fix it. You need to bring it back before us or the Board of Ed. Same thing. So this requires quarterly reporting on all contracts that have been executed by the mayor or the Board of Ed. Now, most contracts should be within the scope of authority for the Board of Ed to sign for 1 year. They don't have to go anywhere else but the Board of Ed. The mayor doesn't have to go back to the council on 1-year contracts if there's money in the budget. But if you have to do a transfer or you have to do anything else to increase the amount of money in a line that you need to fund the contract, then you have to go to the council for that. But for the most part, if you're administering things and the budget works, the mayor doesn't have to go to the council for anything that's within the budgetary year.
Okay.
The next page is item number 8. This is, again, the succession issue. This is the election of the chair, and the chair and I'm calling it the chair pro tempore. If you want to call it the vice chair, be my guest. That was just a term I used. If you like vice chair better than chair, you can do that. If you like president better than chair, you could do that too, and vice president, whatever you want to call it, or president pro tem. I used pro tem because that's my tradition. I didn't do well in Latin, but I was the president pro tem of the New Haven Board of Alders, so that Latin term I did understand. On page 19, again, this goes to item number 11. This is the very clear, explicit rule that the council shall review and approve all contracts in excess of the line item authority or for multi-year contracts. So in excess of line item authority means you need a transfer. That's why you go to the council for the transfer. On the next page, let me give you an example. Please read everything here because there's a number of things I've raised that are questions. Kevin and I are going to go over them together. On page 20, subsection C, just above section 5, requires ordinances to be published in a daily newspaper of general circulation in the city of West Haven. I highly recommend that you eliminate the mandatory publication requirement and allow for publication by electronically, or if you choose. In fact, the notice definition gives the town clerk very broad definition about how to notify the public. But I would take out any mandatory newspaper publication requirement because that could be very expensive. So I didn't act on that, but you should know that that's there, and I'll make sure we don't forget about that as we go through the process. The next, well, you'll see changes. I just want to show them to you. I didn't mark them. On page 24, you'll see that I eliminated the staggered 4-year term for the Board of Ed and the vacancies, but those sections, as you may recall, are now up front. So they're not gone from the charter. They're just moved to an earlier section in the charter. This is a mistake. I've got to take this out. I left in some of my drafting notes on page C25. I have General Statute 10-224. I was using it for point of reference on what kind of reports the Board of Ed should file, so I'm going to take that out of there. That doesn't belong there at all. On page 26, again, this is council recommending. This is me, council, the attorney, recommending to you. I wanted to give you a sense of what I think needs to be at the beginning. Remember, I've consolidated all the boards and commissions in one chapter. They all had individual chapters. I'm now saying they should be here. And what this section 1 does, it sets up the administrative requirements for boards and commissions. That when you adopt an ordinance, it tells you that the ordinance needs to say how many people are on the commission. Well, that's logical, but the charter should be your guide to say this is the way you do it, so there's consistency and conformity with those requirements. Every commission has to appoint a chair or any other officers it wants to appoint. That's subsection 2. They need to keep records. Well, the state law requires it, but let's have it in the charter and say that records need to be kept. You need to comply with minority party representation. You need to allow for public access. It doesn't have to be every meeting, public comment at meetings. You want to establish frequency of meetings because one of the grounds for removal from a board or commission is your failure to attend meetings. And you can establish a rule that says if you miss 3 meetings consecutively without permission, unless you're ill or something like that, you may be removed from a board or commission. That's a problem that we have. Agendas need to be approved by the chair. Department heads who have a relationship with the board or commission has to cooperate with that board and commission. They need to understand that the board or commission does have a role to play. I've left quorum blank. I think I've repeated a couple things here, but I just wanted to give you a sense that these are the provisions that would be in this section. Compensation is prohibited. You can't compensate people by statute who serve on boards and commissions unless there are exceptions to that. But that's a new section that's not anything you've recommended, I told you I would do something like that in the draft. And so at some point we should get to that before this process ends. No real changes in section 2. I do recommend, like, for example, section 2A3. You'll see an elector requirement and no compensation in every board and commission. That should be in one place in the section I just read, that everybody needs to be an elector to be on a board or commission, and there's no compensation. And so with your permission, once we vote on it, I will move all of that out of each section. You'll see it repeated in subsection C. You see it under inland wetlands. Subsection D, it's not here in D. It's under E for Flood and Erosion Control Board. It's under F for Police Commission. So you'll see that section repeated throughout the document. Why do I have this? Oh, okay. And then at the end of the section, page 34. Oh, on page 34, I have the Allentown Fire Commissioners. That's not the way it's going to be. Whatever they're called, they're called. It's left blank. That's where we're going to put in how they comply, how they fall into the charter. So that's where you'll find the commissioners that deal with the Allentown, the fire department, the West Haven Fire Department, Allentown, will be there. Subsection 3 and 4 are very significant. One is that it basically says the council has the ability to establish any boards or commissions, and section 4 gives you the council the ability to consolidate or merge boards and commissions. What I have found over the years, and this I think is a function of age. I think Art Gerbil's got a couple years on me, but I've been around for a long time, and the civic culture in our country, in our communities, New Haven, West Haven, all throughout the state, has changed quite a bit. We have a harder time finding people. In the old days, you wanted to be on a commission, you had to wait 3 or 4 years before an opening would come up. And now they're having a hard time filling boards and commissions. And so what I've been putting into charter provisions is consolidation and merger provisions to allow for consolidation and mergers of entities if you find that you need to do that. What the Corp Council needs to do, yes, the Corp Council needs to render an opinion that no required charter functions are being abandoned by the merger, so that whatever, let's say I'm not suggesting you do this, but let's say you had a police commission and a fire commission. There is a trend, not so much in Connecticut, but there is a trend around the country to merge the protective services into one public safety commission, for example. And so you'd want to make sure that the fire functions are not ignored and the police functions are not ignored in this new commission. And the Corp Council has to sign off on that. If and without the sign off, the council can't approve it. So that's important to note. Chapter 7, again, these are all the preliminary.
What page are you on?
On page 335, C35. This is, again, my recommendation. Talks about the creation of departments, reorganization plans. In this case, I've often said, otherwise you can have a chaotic mess, that it's the mayor who needs to initiate a reorganization. The council gets to approve it, but the mayor has to initiate it. So that if the council wants to change the form of government, have a charter revision, but we can't have a council changing all the departments on a regular basis while the mayor's trying to govern. And so we do have that, but it allows for reorganization. Same thing with boards and commissions. You need to have an opinion from the Corporation Council that the reorganization is not eliminating any functions. Section 2, I'm going to be recommending, as we go through the departments, every department says the mayor shall appoint. The mayor shall appoint. What I'm going to do in 2A, with your permission, is list the mayor appoints the following department heads and lists them in one place. And then there may be a section, there are a couple where the mayor appoints and the council approves. In your town, it's usually a discretionary mayoral appointment, but there may be a couple of where the council does approve. And so I'm going to move with your permission, everything into 2A that does that, and have the removal provision as well in that section. C is a new section. I find it very useful to have a standard, kind of a best practices standard or nationally accepted professional standard for the appointment of department heads. You want to have, you don't want to be overly prescriptive, and we may look at some of the department heads because the standard for an engineer when this charter was approved in 1967 or 1980 may be very different than the standard in 2026. So I don't like to see job specifications in a charter. We're not getting that deep into it, so we'll look at it, and if we see anything that's really outlandish, we'll talk to the mayor and we'll figure out whether it needs to be fixed. But I like to have a qualifications provision because it says to the public there is a standard for these appointments, and it says to the council the mayor's got to appoint qualified people, and that's not a bad thing to have in here. Compensation is set by the budget, maybe set by ordinance. I don't know that you want to have residency. I put it in as an option. Do you have residency? I don't. You have a residency requirement for department heads now or not? Yeah. So that doesn't have to be here. I just put some of the things in. This next provision is an important provision, which I don't believe you have in here, is that any public employee, official or employee of any department who makes a payment knowingly instructs or votes to instruct anything that is inappropriate shall be personally liable to the town for the amount of such payment. So that's a pretty kind of an anti-corruption provision that I have in a lot of charters. I thought I would throw that out at you here. Position type. I'm sorry. Madam Vice Chair.
One quick question.
Yeah.
As far as I'm just curious in terms of the residency, because I see here it says that either required residency or a compensation benefit for residency. Are other towns doing this because they want to have their people really connected to the work that they're doing?
Some towns have it. It's an interesting issue. In my day, when I was an elected official in the 80s, 90s, it was very important to mandate for department heads that they live in the city. Mm-hmm. I have found with the cost of living, I did a number of charters in Fairfield County in the last few years. It's very hard to find public officials who can actually afford to live in Fairfield or Stamford or Norwalk. They're living in Naugatuck or Waterbury or Danbury. And so some of the rigid residency requirements for even department heads have been loosened quite a bit to deal with that. Even in New Haven, we're going through a debate right now where we have a very firm residency requirement. We have a waiver process to deal with a circumstance that is beyond your control. Somebody, if you're coming in from Kenosha, Wisconsin to become the new director of finance in West Haven, it's inexcusable not to live in West Haven. If you live in Rocky Hill and you take a job in West Haven, you might want to make an argument that, look, my husband's there, I'm there, we have the house is 2/3 paid, the mortgage, I don't want to have to start a new mortgage in West Haven. And you could, on a case-by-case basis, make decisions. But if you don't have residency, I'm not saying you have to put it in. I just wanted to lay out that is an approach you can take to deal with it.
Thank you.
And police and fire is hard. Yeah.
Okay, because police and fire do have a residency requirement.
Do they
I don't
really?
want to get into a deep conversation about it, but yes, the police.
Is that
do-
true? I did not know that.
The Allentown Fire Department that we oversee, but I'm sure
Do they have to be residents of Allentown or just West Haven?
just West Haven, you have to move.
All three districts.
And I
Wow.
think the assistant too, right?
And I don't know, I think it says that in their home rule, but in the charter,
The charter.
the charter speaks to the police chief, and he has to be he or she has to be an elector of
Yeah.
the city.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it speak to this, because the fire department will be in here as well, so won't it need to speak to that as well now?
Yeah.
If you
So you may do that on
Got
an
it.
individual basis. I mean, if that's already in there,
Well, the fire department isn't.
Is
So
not,
we
I
have
got
to,
that,
I would
yeah.
say we would have to vote on it, but I would think we would stay in line with, they should be director of the city.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to
No,
digress.
but that's a
So I
very
just
big
wanna
issue,
get-
and I wanted to just raise it because I didn't think, I know we have a very short period of time, so I'm not trying to overload you, but I didn't want somebody to say, hey, Steve, I see in one of your charters you put residency
Right.
in there.
And I just
So-
want to make sure that if we don't have it in there, the next police chief could say, hey, it's not in the charter. So,
But if it's in the
for
police chief section, we're not
Right,
taking it out.
That's why I want to differentiate between the idea of we realize it's there and not take it out, or we realize it's there and we leave it there.
Let's
That's
make
all.
sure we look at that very carefully, that's all.
So basically, you're leaving it up to the discretion as to whether residency required.
Yeah, it would be,
Okay.
there would be discretion. If we don't have that standard, that language I gave you, then there is no general standard. But if the
Right.
mayor wants to say to somebody, I want my public works director to live in this town,
Right.
they make it a requirement, job requirement, that's all.
Okay,
They,
thank you.
they have the discretion to do that.
All right.
Now, you can't do it with your city employees for the most part. That's why I'm surprised. Chief, rank and file members have to live? It's the chief that has to live. Fine, all right. That's different. Department heads, you can do it. You can't require the employees to live in town.
That's the same with I know with the Center Fire Department. As chief, you had to live in the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing in West Shore.
Yeah.
Ron, a quick question for you. So the police department and fire department, firefighters and police officers don't have to live in West Haven.
Right, it's the department
okay.
head,
That's why I was
the
confused. I
chief
thought
of
you meant
police,
the-
the fire chief, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
All right.
Okay.
The position titles, I'm sorry.
Let's move
Position titles, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, will you?
on. No, I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
Move on. Yeah.
Move on then, Nick. I'll try to move it through as quickly as I can. The titles issue, again, we're not eliminating the departments. I get that. But if you want to change things, this section allows you to change the title. If you don't want to call the director of finance the director of finance, you want to call them the finance director or the czar or whatever you want to call them, you have the ability to change the title. You can't do it to a collectively bargained employee, but you can do it to an appointee. So this gives the flexibility by ordinance to change the title, even though it says one thing in the charter, you can change the title. And again, I've created, reporting obligations. This goes to the issue of the accountability and council approval of contracts. These are reporting requirements for expenditures relating to overtime, so that there are overtime reports that are filed on a fairly regular basis. This is my recommendation to you, which I think is consistent with what we're trying to do in terms of accountability. And the other thing is also the quarterly report on contracts. This may be redundant. I'll take a look at that. But that's what the reporting obligations section does. Again, some of the stuff needs to be cleaned up. No big changes in the departments until we get to page C41. And again, this is with regard to accountability and availability of funds, and this includes the Board of Ed. I don't think you currently have a certification standard for the availability. Maybe the former treasurer might say otherwise. A certification of the availability of appropriated funds. That before you do a contract, when I was Corporation Counsel in New Haven, one of the things that had to be signed off before I gave the mayor the ability to sign the contract was to know that there was a certification of the availability of the funds. That there are monies in this account. The mayor can sign the contract because we're going to be able to pay for it.
Well, I certainly remember when the construction contracts, they had to certify that the money was there.
Yeah.
And the mayor wouldn't sign it without that certification from the finance director.
I don't think it's in the charter, so the
Right.
decision you have to decide, do you want it to make it a constitutional standard?
Right.
I did not see it, that's why I put it in. And then again, the finance director has the ability to refuse to approve contracts if the available appropriation is exhausted, is not there for whatever reasons. Is that also able to require department heads to provide any information necessary to enable the finance director to discharge its duties, so they can go to the Board of Ed and say, we can't control your lines, but we need to know that there are funds in that line before you go ahead and do this multi-year contract. They can do that.
Okay.
There's very clear law on that in the state of Connecticut. Same thing is true on page 42 that goes over to 43. Prohibited payments and expenditures. Please look at this carefully, because again, this establishes some more accountability standards, kind of anti-corruption standards that I've recommended, and it should cover the Board of Ed as well. Let me make a note on that. All right. The next, here it is. And I will fix this. On page 44, we're calling it the West Haven Fire Department, Allingtown. I called it the City of West Haven Allington Fire Department, but I think we want to call it the City of West Haven Allington, City Fire Department, Allingtown.
They're currently using that.
All right. We should, whatever the terminology is, so we don't have to change stationery, we should just use it. I mean, that's my recommendation, my thought on it.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So Steve, could we go back to C43?
Yeah.
One, appointment, residency, and elected requirement. The tax collector shall be appointed by the mayor to serve at the pleasure of the mayor. At the time of the appointment, the tax collector shall be a resident of West Haven.
We may want to take that out.
Well, the commission may want to, may want to look at that.
Yep. Because those are the standards that were there when they were elected officials. I did have a note. No, I did not have a note there. Thank you, Councilman, for bringing that up. If you look at B1, B4, thank you for going back on that one, Ron. This is a redundant provision. This is the position of profit, kind of the emolument. We've been hearing about the emoluments clause in the Constitution. This is kind of the local version of the emoluments clause, and this gets repeated throughout. Again, this is going to be one of those sections I'm going to recommend that we move into the beginning so we don't repeat it every time we get through it. It's kind of a mini emoluments clause that you can't use your position in any way, shape, or form that to get additional compensation in the private sector outside of your functions. On page 46, I've left this in yellow because the only major position in the town that doesn't show, in the city that doesn't show up in the charter is economic and community development. So I've drafted this language. I've asked the mayor to take a look at it and see how they want to define the job. I don't think we need to get into all the details. This is exactly how I would deal with every function. If I had my druthers, and then you create the actual functions in ordinance. But I don't think we need to go into all the details, but I thought it'd be important. It's a very important function, and it was not mentioned in the charter. There's a department, there's a commission, but there's nothing on the department side, so I made a recommendation that we do that. No other changes that are of any significance until you get to the Board of Education on page 51 and 52. We're almost there, guys. Please take a look at this. I would say that we should have the Board of Ed take a look at it. Don't want to be disrespectful, but these are standards that are pretty clear. I think I took them mainly from the statutes. This lays out what the administrative responsibilities of the Department of Education are in very broad sense. And I thought
page,
it was
what page?
page C52.
Oh, 52, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so those are new, and I put them in there to emphasize that the educational functions are department functions of the city. They're not a separate entity. They don't have their own chapter. And this kind of lays out what the Board of Ed does. You'll also see on the next page that I added a lot of language dealing with budget accountability. There is currently language dealing with it, but all the new language addresses the accountability. They have to if they change their budget, they have to let us know that they changed their budget. We can't tell them how to spend their lines, but if they change their lines after coming to the city council and the mayor saying that we need X dollars and we need it because we want to put more money into audio visual activities or group or trips to the Statue of Liberty or to whatever it may be, and if all of a sudden they change it, I think it's important for everybody to see that they change those things. That there was and that's a provision I have there. Compliance with law provision to make sure that they are complying with law, that they notify the council for any additional funds if they need additional funds, that they have to abide by purchasing protocols. They can have their own department to deal with those things, but they need to make sure that they're compliant with whatever city standards that may exist and apply to them. And then part 4, number of monthly reporting requirements. And if they complain about these things, if you take a look at my footnotes, you will see that each one of these is required by state law. And so what I did is I went through the state statutes to see what kind of reporting requirements they have on finances, principally. I don't have things in here like truancy and stuff like that, curriculum-related things. But anything that's finance-related that they have to file a report with the State Department of Education, they should be filing the report locally so that we know what they're doing and so that we don't have conflicting reports that are going around. So all those new sections on reporting requirements are, and I'm going to change it from monthly reporting to reporting requirements because some of them are quarterly requirements as well. I wanted to explain that to you. Again, this is the concept of having the Board of Ed treated like a department. The last major section.
Can I just ask?
Please.
I'd like to ask a question.
No, you're
about
wonderful.
this. So,
Thank you.
so I understand that the Board of Education is required per the state, and now we want them to share it with the mayor and the city council. And I'm just wondering about the electors. Like, what about the general public?
Well, they're all public documents.
No, right, but why isn't there a statement that it should be posted to the website, or do they already do that?
They might. We can make that a
I'm
requirement.
just.
Yeah.
I get it. The mayor
Nope,
and the
excellent.
city council, but it's the people that should be aware of it as well.
Yep.
That's all.
I'll
Thank
put
you.
website posting in there. That's a wonderful idea. Thank you. See? Questions are a good thing. The next section is the Board of Ethics, Code of Ethics, and Standards of Official Conduct. We talked about having removal provisions in here. And I've got to add charter violation. I don't know how I left that out. But most of this is in the charter already. But we want to make it clear that employees are covered. All employees, including employees of the Board of Ed. Or employees who are supervised by the Board of Ed. They're employees of the city. And so the real big change in this section is section 5 on page 58, C58. And this is a fairly elaborate procedure, and I'm going to talk to Kevin about it, but I wanted to at least advance it. We cannot have a removal provision for elected officials. Officials the mayor already appoints are dealt with in the mayor's section. So nothing needs to be changed there unless we want to start looking at those procedures. But if it's not broke and the mayor hasn't said anything about it, there's no need to fix something that's not broke. So the only thing we could really do is deal with the removal of appointed board and commission members because they are appointed. And so we have complete authority. And what I've done here is created a system, and I just actually, this is the second charter I've done this in, neither of which have been adopted yet, but I worked on this in some detail in the town of Weston, smaller town, but we went through a very elaborate procedure. You want to make sure that in their case they have elected officials because they have a special act, but you want to make sure that when you have removal that you have very clear due process standards. And so what I've done here is have two different types of removal. There's a removal for violating ethics, and there's a removal for corrupt practices or illegal actions that you may take or violations of the charter. If you have an ethics removal, can only come after the ethics board, the Board of Ethics, makes a determination. And Kevin and I are debating the issue of whether they make a recommendation or they simply provide notice to the city council. And then it's up to the city council to decide, well, this is strong enough to require removal, or do we have the ethics board recommend removal as a standard for that? And so that's pretty easy. The ethics board would have the assistance of the corp counsel's office, and they would prosecute the case, and they would make a decision, and then it would go to the city council for removal. There's also, among the grounds for removal are violation of the charter, felony that's committed while you're on there, neglect of duty, inability to serve, willful malfeasance, those kinds of standards that are pretty...
Hi, sorry,
sorry?
to bother you.
Please.
So as far as the Board of Ethics, if there is a complaint filed, the board will review and investigate and give a recommendation, and it goes to the mayor. I believe. I
The
don't
Board of Ethics for what? For discipline?
for any complaint for removal.
The Board of Ethics doesn't make a determination. The Board of Ethics doesn't
We
make
give a recommendation, but it's up to
Yeah,
the
no, the Board of Ethics just makes recommendations.
Yeah.
They don't have any dispositional behavior. So in the case of a municipal employee, yes, they would notify the mayor that this is their finding. The mayor would then have to make a decision on what to do. The question, and we'll make that clear. Thank you. That's a really important point, but I got that point. What do we do with employees of the Board of Ed? I think the same thing would be true. I don't think the mayor should be asserting authority over people who are under the executive authority of the superintendent. But the Board of Ethics should have that authority to say to the school superintendent, Teacher Jones has done these things, or Administrator Moskowitz has done those things, and you have to decide what to do. And with employees, most of them are covered by collective bargaining agreements. If it's a department head and the mayor has appointed the department head, the mayor has a lot more discretion to deal with the department head. So that's the way that would work. If it's a non-ethics matter, I recommend that either the corp counsel or a special master, the corp counsel would hire an attorney to basically prosecute the case. They would make the case that the person has violated the charter, the person has violated the law. You had an incident in town not too long ago during COVID that were some legal violations. They went beyond discipline. They went to criminal actions. But if they weren't that level of crime, you might want to deal with it on an administrative basis. But again, there's a due process standard. And that, the person who's being accused has a right to hire counsel. You're not paying for that counsel. They have the ability to bring in their own attorney to defend them. So
Can we just look to see how this would play out if it was we're saying we can make a recommendation to the superintendent, and what happens if they disagree? Or even how would is it the same with the police commissioners? Is it the same with the City of West Haven Fire Department, Allentown?
well,
I don't want you to answer now. I just want to make sure it's all of them.
No, that's right. I mean, if they're employees, they have collective bargaining rights. So this charter gets trumped by their collective bargaining rights. But the findings of an ethics board can be taken into account in whatever disciplinary process exists in the collective bargaining agreement. So if it's the police department, there's a collective bargaining agreement and a disciplinary process that governs there. I don't think the mayor...
Not everyone is a collective. Or I don't know. Is the chief in the union?
No.
No. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no.
Well, sometimes in West Haven, you just got to double check because we
Yeah.
have some supervisors. We have a.
Yeah. Look, chiefs have
But I
state
just-
statutory protections. There's other things that the Ambrosio laws.
No,
the
I
chief will probably know
understand.
about those.
I just
yeah.
want to make sure that we're thinking about that,
Yeah,
that's all.
please read the section carefully. I just want to give you an overview of that. That is that. And the last thing, in the budget, there are a couple things on page C63 that I've added mainly to capture information from the Board of Ed, Section 1A and Section 1C. The other thing I've done, you'll see where you see these captions that are underscored. I don't like walls of words. I think I've used that term before. So you're going to see in this document, it's going to look very different than the current charter. Even where there's no substantive change, it'll look different because I've broken things down into different sections and giving them titles. If I've missed the concept that's there, look at those captions and tell me, Steve, that's not quite what we think that does, and let's fix it.
That's in and of itself a big.
Well, we did that too. That's done already. So
I know.
that is done. And then the final thing is on page 70. We're going to move the Village Improvement Association into the departments. We don't know quite how we're going to deal with it because the Corp Council is still trying to determine what they are and how they work, etc. So that's what I've got before you. So what I'll try to do for next Tuesday, with the permission of the chair, is to break it down into bite-sized motions so that we can act on these things, as many as possible, on Tuesday. I don't want to rush you. Let me make that very clear. I do not want to rush anybody. I would like, if we have to prioritize anything, I'd like to prioritize the definitions, because once I get the definitions, I can then fix the definitions throughout the entire document.
You can rush us. Can I ask? I'd like to ask a question. So, I understand that Corp Council is still researching and investigating the village improvement. So, is there a way to do? I guess what happens if he doesn't figure it out before the?
We'll move it. We'll move it into the way I would propose it. Again, only because of what's the opposite of abundance of time? The lack of time that we have in this process. I would move it in exactly the way it is into the department section.
Yes.
And say to the council, we're going to work it out there, and then they'll come up with a recommendation on how to deal with it when they bring it back to you. So at the very least, I would move it into the department section.
Yes. So my question, so could we just write it as if it is aligned with the Board of Ed? And like you said,
Treat
do
it the
that,
same way?
Treat it the same
Yeah.
way, and
Yeah,
okay,
I think so.
That's yeah.
I'm willing to make that recommendation. I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you.
You have to tell me what to do, but you could do that.
I have told you what to do. No, I'm joking.
Steve, I just want to mention, so in the council, still under investigation, it says that they have the power to compel the attendance of witnesses. So we haven't determined if that's accurate or not, right?
The council has that ability?
Remember you had mentioned that we could only have it by if there was a special ordinance or statute or something unlikely. Yeah, page 22, under investigation.
Well, that's it. What I will ask is I'll ask the Corporation Council to take a look back at your special act, because those provisions on investigations tend to be provisions that were pre-existing in the special acts. Yeah, it's section 7, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't have that here because you did not have an annotation in your charter, but I will make sure that we look, and I wouldn't take it out, I'd leave it, but I want to verify whether it's covered by a special act. Because if it's covered by a special act, I want to annotate it and say it's covered by a special act, because routinely that power doesn't exist for local governments unless it's given to you by a special act. But I've seen other provisions like this, investigation provisions, in other charters where they clearly are tied to a special act. So I would not be surprised if we took a look at the special acts that were in existence before your charter came into existence, that this is a remnant. That's my guess. I don't know that for a fact. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope this was helpful.
Very helpful, yeah. Any other discussion or anything before this body? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.